Okay, let's get started again for the last but not least assignment number 4. It isn't the last assignment, actually. It is the second to last. There's a number 5 out there. Number 5 has an applet that gets turned into a program. Unfortunately, I haven't put the example together yet because the day class is ending. Actually, the day class ends on, we didn't even get through collections yet on the weekday, which means we're now ahead. We're farther ahead than they are. And we actually got more information on the assignments than they got, which is a bonus. The other problem that you might figure out or you might be wondering about is, well, what's going to be on the final exam? They're going to find out before you guys do because this is your last time here. I haven't even written the final exam yet. So the solution to all this is that once I create the final exam, 2 or 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks or maybe 1 week before the exam for the day students, for the weekday students, I'm going to review it for them. So what I'm going to do ahead of time is put together a video for you. So you'll have a YouTube video that I'll have a link in the bhacker.com website where they'll say Final Exam Review, which will give you, after I've written the exam, because I like to write a new one each term, it'll give you the types of questions, the information, what to study for, what's going to be on it. I can tell you right now, I have a tendency to probably make it more multiple choice, true, false-ish, short answer. Maybe some short answer instead of the true, false. I will not require you to write source code. You're not going to have to write an ounce of source code, but you might have to look at source code examples and tell me, how many constructors are in here, how many this and that. And because it's a closed book, closed note, closed internet, it's not going to be as challenging as the homework assignments. It's not going to be as detailed. Maybe as the part 2 of the midterm, which allows you to cut and paste the code and run it, because you're not going to be able to do that. So it's going to be more comprehensive. It's going to cover the entire course, but in the video I'll tell you exactly what you want to study, so you have a better idea. But I'm not going to know that until I write it, and it's not written yet. So, and we're going to hopefully try, just in case you're not on the mailing list, we're going to hopefully try and get the word out, so that you know ahead of time when it's been posted. So remind me, we need to send a message out to the class once I create my final exam review video.
Yes, sir.
So that these guys can know when to get to it. If you're waiting for it, you haven't seen it, you haven't received any messages, send me an email message to one of those addresses up there. Probably this one up here is the easiest one. And I can answer that question for you. Also, as this person was mentioning, he's having problems uploading into the ITU. He's actually having problems getting into the ITU.
I just showed him.
Huh?
He has a problem with Oracle.
Oh.
But this subject it works.
This subject, well, this guy's saying, that next to him is saying that the assignment links aren't there. He can't upload. Oh. Now you're able to see it? Okay. Well, that's why I say it's touch and go. Well, hopefully you can see it when you're ready to put the stuff in. So, yes?
Are we going to have time limit?
Oh, no, you're not going to be pressured under time.
Sometimes you see timer on your desktop.
Oh, no.
It's clicking.
No. You can take 5 hours if you want.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it going to be in class? Or?
It's an in-class exam that you'll be pen and paper, where your physical body sits down with a pen and writes the exam.
No, it depends,
Okay, so we have 200 or so students that are enrolled in this course. Although they're not here, it doesn't matter, they're still enrolled. And they still have to take the final exam. That's why I'm having it for 2 days. We're going to meet on the 16th and the 17th. But you don't have to show up for both days. What we're going to do is take all these students, put them into time groups, and then send you in the message, tell you what time group you're in. And don't worry about it if that time group doesn't work for you. We can switch and put you in another time group. But the focus is to only get 30 or 40 of you at maximum at one particular time. Sit you down, make it quiet, give you room to write and stuff. Let you sit as long as you want, and then bring the next group in. I mean, some of you who want to take longer can stay while others leave. So how it works is you sit down and you start it, and then you just take it until you end. I'm not going to pull it from you after an hour or something, but to tell you quite honestly, it'll probably take you about an hour and a half, I think.
It's about 10 marks. How many marks?
How many marks? About 25%, at 25 points. So,
Questions?
I don't know yet. I haven't written it. I'm going to make it so you can finish it in an hour, and some of you will take an hour and a half or 2 hours. because you'll go through 5 times on one question and read it over again and read it over. Which, you know, for test-taking purposes is not advisable, actually. Usually your first instinct is correct, actually. Coming from a master test taker, I've taken many. I've taken the patent bar, taken, you know, law school exams and things like that. You know what? It's a timed experience. You got 100 questions. You can't go through each one of them over and over again. You just read it, and usually the first instinct is correct. More students have problems is when I grade other papers, usually undergraduate classes where they're not as experienced with test taking. You just got eraser marks all over the place. And it's like, you had the right answer. You changed it. Like, why did you do that? I mean, that's my only advice I can give you is get comfortable, get familiar, so that when you read it, and then read for comprehension. A lot of students read it, and they're not reading what's on the page. They're reading what's in their head. So slow the reading down so you're reading word for word and you're actually understanding the question. Pick the right answer instantly, by instinct, whatever one looks after you've analyzed it, and then move on. Don't revisit that question ever again. That's the best way to take multiple choice, actually. But anyway, everyone has their own. That's just my own personal way of doing it. Everybody has their own style. Some people like to go and mark them. You know, when you mark them and you don't answer them, you leave them empty. And you come back because you forget. Oh, yeah, page 5. This isn't going to be 5 pages long. This is going to be like 2 pages maybe. Not that big of a deal. But, you know, people like forget to answer stuff. Or you won't have a Scantron, but the classic thing is to accidentally skip a line. Like, I skipped this question, but I wrote question number 4 on question number 3's answer. And then everything's off by 1. All the games you play, it doesn't work in the long run. It just causes problems. So I say, read it, answer it, go on to the next one. And then when you're done with it, you're done with it. Don't dwell on it. That's another thing people do. Oh my God, I don't know. Did I answer that right? And then they come back into the room hours later. What was the right answer to that? I'm like, the test is over with. You finished it. You went home. Don't come back and ask me. You'll find out sooner or later. But don't worry. I'll try to make the exam as easy as possible, or straightforward, because I know you going from memory. You don't have the internet. You don't have the notes with you or anything. And it will not be testing programming language syntax either. It will be 100% object-oriented design. You'll be asked about objects, about constructors, about inheritance. Huh? Static and non-static, you know, or not non-static, static and regular variables. Instance variables, class variables, interfaces, containers, or collections, I'm sorry. I keep calling them containers. Concepts. And I'll tell you exactly what to study. So you can watch the video and you can find out. And same thing will be true for assignment number 5, which I haven't created yet. You'll see the video and I'll point it. In fact, I put it up in the assignment list. Look in the weekday class under the assignments. You'll see new videos that are going over the assignments, essentially.
I'll update them.
Yeah. You can send a message out. Let them know there's some new videos up there. And I'm also going to add some new tutorials as well. It's a time thing. I have to actually make the time to put them up. Let's talk about Gooeys. If you thought collections was easy, this is even easier. We're going to look at the swing, and we're going to also look at opening and closing files. 1 or 2 lines of code, you can open a file, you can save a file. It makes life easy. And this assignment is actually not too bad. I'm going to do it all for you, except for the style menu. You have to implement your own style menu, and actually that's pretty trivial. No? You're shaking your head no? No. It's easy. All right, so in this lab you're required to program with a swing and with file I/O. The lectures that I'm not covering are going over, like, how to get out of there. I believe I went through, actually let's just take a detour here real quick. Interface design, I covered lecture 5. Lecture 6 I believe was on collections. I just covered that one a few minutes ago. Yep. And you can go through and watch the videos, or you can actually just go through and read the lectures yourself. It substitutes content that you would find in a textbook. Don't show up tomorrow. All right, number 7 is on exception handling and I/O, which is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the I/O part of it, and the I/O part of it is one object that's used to open and close and keep track of files. And And the exception handling, the built-in exception handlers and stuff like that is extremely easy. In fact, that I'll let you figure out on your own. And if you can't figure it out, then watch the weekday videos. Haven't even covered it yet, so it's not available yet. One of these is on Gui Programming. Swing, lecture number 8 is the one I was looking for. Using the interface components, it's only 13 slides. And it's not going to give you, in fact, here are the components here. I could run through this, but it wouldn't really matter. We're using Java X Swing as an import, and I'll show you that. And we're using JLabel, JText. Actually, we're using a JText field. We're not even using checkboxes or combo boxes or lists in this assignment. But every one of the components you can possibly imagine can be put on a Jframe. And I'll show you that. The Jframe is the component that's going to bring up our window. So I'm going to show you that hands-on, so you'll get a feel for that. For those of you who aren't really happy with your object-oriented background, lecture number 11 is going to give you all the pieces put together. This is the one I showed you in the beginning. It's number 11 in the slide set. It's nothing, there's no programming in this lecture. It's all on object-oriented concepts. And it goes through the concepts of abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation from a theory rather than a programming interface. And you'll see different, the things about object types, creating objects, super subclasses, defining objects. The identity, state, and behavior, this will help you with the midterm exam, actually. So this is one of the questions that talks about identity, state, and behavior. And this is number 11. Not a bad lecture for those of you who want a background and who don't have a background in it. And 9 and 10, one of them's on thread programming, I believe, and the other one, network programming. This is not as bad as it looks, and I'm going to put together some tutorials and some information on assignment number 5 that barely touches upon this. In fact, it probably doesn't. In fact, I think I may have pulled it out. In fact, let me take a look real quick about assignment number 5, so I'm not misquoting you. Oh no, number 5 is just working with the applet. We're taking the applet and we're turning it into a program. It's a ping pong game. So I left out, actually did not give you an assignment on threads. And I probably won't even cover it on the midterm, on the final. It's not covered on the midterm, and it probably won't be covered on the final, and I'm probably not going to cover it in the day class either, because it kind of goes above and beyond the scope of the course. And this is more client-server and the internet related. We're object-oriented design in Java. But thread programming and network programming is a component of it, so it's in here. I may or may not cover it. I'll let you know as we get closer. And this is what you're going to find in the review video. And then number 10, the last lecture, is on garbage collection, nested classes interfaces. It's about 20 slides on Java docs, documentation and stuff, which might be new information for some of you as well. Whether or not that's going to be on the final depends on how far I get. Because what I need to do is kind of judge out the weekday class, see how far we get, because you guys are taking the same final. They still have a month and a half left. So, unfortunately, the way the scheduling works, it's kind of weird that we only meet 3 times during the term. So, we have to kind of be consistent with the other class. So, it's hard to predict ahead of time. I know I'm going to see you in a month to take a final that you're going to take before the class ends. So, I have to figure out, well, what are we going to cover up to that point? What's fair? And my opinion right now is that network programming, garbage collection, Java docs, probably not going to make it on the final. That's what I'm thinking. So everything up to today is going to make it, but Swing will make it, that's for sure. All right, let's talk about Swing. How did this thing end up here? I don't know. I have a toolbar. Let me just delete the tool. There we go. All right. So, looks heavy duty. It's really easy. Okay, so in the application, we're going to create a GUI that looks similar to what we see here. And the GUI is going to have a text area. It's going to have a menu, Java menu bar. This is the menu bar. This is the text area. These are the menu options. And it uses built-in Swing components. We're going to have and all this functionality that's described here is done for you automatically. We're going to have a file open, select a file. Do not implement this manually. I don't know, it seems like a lot, but it's all the file stuff is in JFile Chooser. file choose class, I should say. And so your task is to implement the file open, file close, or file save, exit. And if you click on file exit, your text editor will close and the program stops, essentially. Open opens a file, save saves a file. And you should be able to change the font style and the background color of the background of the text area. That I'm leaving for you to do. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but you can probably figure it out quite easily. So let's take a look and see what the sucker looks like. So don't save. Make it bigger. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you the end product first, so you can kind of see what it is I'm talking about. And this is the one I meant to say it's an application, not an applet. Because when you look at it, it's common to say, this looks like an applet. Not an applet, actually. It's an application. But it's a GUI application. And here it is, right here. Actually, this is what you're creating, except for yours is going to say style next to it. And the look of this window is going to be different depending upon your operating system. This is on a Mac. We have the little rounded things. You're going to have a Windows motif on your system. Different. And we have a file menu. And the file menu has an open, a save, and an exit. Not bad. And then in terms of, these are the labels that we have. We've also actually implemented mnemonics. So if we press the Options key, see how the F gets, look at the F, it has underscore next to it. If I go alternate F, it opens up the file menu. And then we see how we have 0, O, S, and E. We're gonna that's really easy as well. But that's not even part of the assignment. You don't even have to do that. That's just an add-on I'm going to show you. But the functionality is we select to open something. I don't know how we got an F in there. We could go, this is a test. All right. And I can go file save. And I can say, save as test.txt, and I'm going to put it in my home directory and save. That's good. And then I can, let's say, remove this here. I took it out, and I'm going to file open. Oops, not save. File open, and let's see. There it is, test. Okay, is this the one? Saturday? Yeah, today. Okay, good. There it is. You're like, wow, just like Notepad. Actually, that is Notepad. You're going to make that. It's easy. It's easy. You're not going to believe me, but it's easy. It's easier than you would imagine, actually. But yes, this is the finished product. Your finished product is going to have, here where it says file, you're going to have styles next to it. So you can change the background color, change the fonts. It's built-in functionality. All of it's built-in functionality. Let's take a look. She says it's easy. Let's see. All right, all of this code that we just looked at is in this file. It's a single file. In fact, we don't have to put it in a single file. I just did it for simplicity's sakes. This is all the code. All right, so what are we looking at? Make it a little bigger so you can see it. Most important component, we need to include the AW Abstract Window Toolkit. Old, actually. Swing's the newer one. It's kind of conventional to use all of these. The Java I/O is for the file opener and closer, file chooser, choose. I want to call it chooser. It's really file choose is the name of the object. I would have called it file select. But swing is the component that we're using for the graphical, for the windows, for the frame. And everything is J this, J that, J text box, Jframe, J menu for Java. And that's part of the syntax for the swing library that we're looking at. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go undo typing. Okay, good. And then events. This is truly event-driven in terms of we're getting actions. Did we mouse click? Did we press optional F? And then depending upon what event was received, event handling is built in, actually. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on that either. And then the abstract toolkit, so it's pretty, event is part of it. So mostly you'll see this as a standard header for the imports for all of these applications. The serial, don't worry about it. Again, it's kind of like they're suppressing the warnings. I didn't put a version number on anything or a serial number on it. This is an Eclipse warning. So we'll just leave that one alone, actually. We don't have to worry about that. Make this a little smaller so it fits in the window. So this is actually kind of the standard format that a lot of people use when creating and using these tools. And I'm making a new class, because everything in Java is a class, even GUI interfaces are. And I'm calling this Java Pad. You can call it anything you want. Extends Jframe. So that frame that came up, that window, is built for us. We're using inheritance here. We're inheriting from Jframe. When we start looking at Apple, we get extends applet, extends application, implements this. It would be an interface. So extends Jframe is saying we're inheriting from Jframe, but we're going to add to it, and we're going to set a title for the window, and we're going to set scrollable or not scrollable capabilities, a height, a width for the window. But the Jframe is the window, is the windowing application, or the frame that we're using. Inside of the frame, and as long as you can understand how this is kind of working in terms of its composite, we have different components that are nested. So we take a frame, put something in there, a container in there. We take and we put objects in there, like a text box, a button, and things. Then we have a layout manager that controls it. Everything's left, everything's centered, everything's right. You know, how do we want the frame to look? You can do this manually, which is what we're doing here, which is not too much work. There's also third-party GUI, SWING programs that create twice as much or 3 times as much code. It's kind of like the difference between creating your own web page using HTML and then using one of those what you see is what you get, drag and drop. The files are huge. You know, the web site you get loads slowly because it's like too much code. This is more efficient. And once you learn how to do it, it's not that big of a deal, actually. Just like any other class that we create, we have data members and member functions. There's nothing different than the last class we looked at. All of the data members. In fact, this one actually, believe it or not, is more standard. I made everything private. Everything's private. Member functions are all public. This is all put in one file because it's really simple, actually. We have the area in which we're going to put the file. That's a JText area. And in order to really get familiar, you almost have to go online or pick up a Swing book because there's buttons, labels, lists, text boxes, text frame, just the text box, the text area. And if you're familiar with any other type of GUI programming, like with the MFC, Microsoft Foundation class, or the creating RCs, resource files in C++, this is easier. This is much easier. But it uses the same terminology. So even in Visual Basic, a text area is a text area. It's a text area, multiple lines. And in Java, you just put a J in front of everything. Java text area. And so we're creating a new object, and we're going to call it edit area. We can call it anything we want, but this is the name of the text area. And this is the other object that we're creating. We only have 2 objects in here. Text area, and then we have the file chooser, which is a file chooser. J file chooser, so, which is a new instance of file chooser. And that's why I say I would have put file selector or something. Yeah, I don't know. But this is the built-in class coming from the Swing libraries that the assignment actually has you, that specifies. The assignment actually tells you what to use as well, which is this. All right, so you are creating actions for the menu items that are being performed. So what is very common is to create a method for each one of the actions that are available for each one of the menu items. It's kind of like the old days of creating a function for everything. I'm going to create a method for everything. So here we have the action. So creating an action for the menu items. The action, open action, save action, edit action. You could call it open, save, and edit if you wanted to. But here it's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, in the labeling. And what are we doing? It's a new open action, new save action. And these are built-in methods that you're running on file chooser. To say open action, exit action. We'll see this come together. Here's main. I say this is really true to form as an example of a finished application because main should be 1 line. If your program has a larger than main, well, it probably has 5 lines. I've seen some Java programs that's all in the main. It's all in the driver program and 1 or 2 little classes that it's working with. It's like, whoa, it's like lopsided. Usually the driver program, which is this main method here, is extremely small. All this is doing is making a new instance of JavaPad. We didn't even assign it to a variable. We just did new JavaPad because we're not even going to use it for anything. We're just going to open it up. And just like anything else, we have constructors. Well, we're not actually, we could run JavaPad from a command line and type in a space and send it information. Send it something that we would send to a constructor. Just the same way as we would run any command-based program, we can do the same thing. In here in main, we would have, and in fact it's here by default, the string arguments. We parse the arguments. So we could say, you know, JavaPad space myfile.txt and open up the file. We don't have that functionality implemented here. So our constructor is plain. It's just a regular old default constructor with no parameters that's doing everything. It's setting up everything for us. And after our constructor fires, that's our program. That's the entire program. And then we have the supporting methods that we're going to run to open action, to save action, to exit action in terms of those options. So what are we doing here? This constructor is pretty much the heart of the entire program. What are we doing? We've already created the objects up here, and that's why it's kind of better to create. You don't have to. You could create all of these. You could, probably could have created these objects in the constructor if you wanted to. More conventional to do it up here, because you're going to use it throughout the program. It's not. I mean, even though the constructor is using those methods. Excuse me, even though the class is using those methods, it's better to put them up front, because then you know we only have text editor and file chooser. So here we have text editor dot equals new. We created the text edit object. Now we're creating, so we have the object type called text edit area, excuse me, which is the object type JText area. It's like tongue twister. Now we're creating the instance of the object with new, to say new 15, 80. Same process we've done when we said, you know, this is the object. Object is equal to. So object, name of the object equals new. Instead of doing it all in one line, which we could have done up there, we're doing it in several different lines because we want to set some parameters. Gives us another flexibility in terms of what we're setting. And we're setting the border, setting the border width or type. We're setting the font, and we're setting the title. And we're putting scroll bars. Scroll bars, so if the text is too big, we can arrow down to see the text. So and it's kind of easy, actually. So the text area here, I'm not going to go through each one of these lines. This is where you get that, you know, little swing book, and you go, well, what can we set? You know, we can set the border, we can set the font, we can set the area, how big, height and width of the box. And, oh yeah, look at that, we can actually set, we can say a JScroll pane is equal to scrolling text, to a new scrolling text for the area. Add the scroller to the text area. So this is creating the scrollable text area. So what we're doing is we're creating all of these components, and then we're going to add it to the canvas, or add it to the frame. So now we're going to create the content pane. So we set the layout and all of the components that we're going to add to it. We could have created the menu bar first. It doesn't really matter. We create the menu bar, we create the text area, we create all these things, and then we put them all together inside of a container. And the container is the component container. So here we have JPanel content, meaning that this is the contents of our window. It's going to be equal to a new JPanel. The content, we're going to select the layout. We're using a border layout. That means I think it references, and this particularly we don't really care whether it's centered, left or right, because in the border layout, it means, are we going to, when we add these items, because imagine you got a container, you add the items to the container. Same problem actually with C++. How are they going to be word wrapped? You know, sometimes you have first name, you know, it's a label, and you got a text box, and then you got a label, and it kind of word wraps this way. Sometimes it's a line here, it's a line there, it's a line here, here. Those are what those layouts are doing for you. And then you could take the layout and subdivide it out into sub-layouts, which is what people do. It's like, okay, here's the layout. It's kind of like doing website design. You know, over here, put a layout over here, a layout over here. So you have 3 different sections. You add the components to the different sections. That's probably the most difficult part of this, is figuring out how you want things displayed on the screen. We don't really care. We just have a text box, text area. You don't even have to do that for this assignment. It's so easy. You don't even have to worry about that. But in the future, if you ever wanted to extend this functionality, what this is giving you is the object-oriented design of using the swing as objects, and creating these objects is what the focus of this exercise is all about. All right, so we've created the border layout. We're centering it. So these are just some parameters. We're on the content. We're adding the layout to the content. And then we're creating the menu bar. And the menu bar is really all the functionality that we've got here. And this is where, remember when I press the Option key, and it's going to be the alternate probably key, Control or alternate key on your keyboard, depending upon if you have a Mac or a PC. That's where that F came in. It's setting a mnemonic. So if I pressed F, I get that underline. And it's going to, you know, in the old days they did this. In fact, like Windows 3.0 had everything underlined. Because what if you didn't have a mouse? What if you had a keyboard? You know, how are you going to run this program? I think it's kind of outdated. I think people have mice now. And nobody even thinks about it anymore, seriously. But this is adding it. You don't have to put it on yours. And what are we really doing here is we're adding the options. So we were creating the J menu bar that comes on the top. And we are saying we want a file menu. And we're going to call it file. You can call it anything we want, seriously. In fact, if you want to be creative in the assignment, you can. You're going to have one that says file. You're going to create another one that's going to say style with it as well. And then file menu.set, well, that's the setting the F, set the mnemonic. Add some stuff to it. What do we add? These are all of our options, and our options are to open action, save action, separator line. You know, they have those clear little lines that separate the, I don't know if you noticed that on the example, but there was a line in there. Put as many lines as you want. You can put the options in separated by lines if you want. It's your style. And then the exit action. And we're going to actually have events occur automatically when the user uses their mouse or their keyboard that we don't have to program. It's part of the interface. All we have to do is, if this event occurs, do something. So we have actions performed for certain events that we're going to program in here. So we're going to set the window context and the menu. This basically says set the contents pane that we've created, this container, to content. Content has the window layout, it has our text area in there. And then set the menu bar. So set the J menu bar to the menu bar. We can create multiple menu bars. We can create multiple panes if we want, swap it back and forth. We can hide things, we can show things. We can do all sorts of interesting things to it. In here we have set the window characteristics of the Jframe. So here we have Jframe exit on close. So set the default close operation. That's if you take the Jframe, and you know how people like click in the little red box. You can, in Visual Basic and other languages, you can say, well, if it closes, make sure to save the file, or make sure to clean this up, make sure to clean that up. Here we're just going to say exit on the close, just close everything down. The title here, my text editor, it's the title for the frame. I can't remember actually what pack does right now. Anyone know what pack does? I cannot remember. I believe it sets the container. I have to actually look that one up. Set location relative to, we don't have to worry about that. In fact, we could probably leave that one out. Set visible true. If we left it out, it's going to be default. In fact, I think it's going to actually make the assembly work so that the menu shows up at the same time as the window. But don't quote me on that. Having a memory freeze on that. Actually, I should pull it out and see what happens, but I'm too lazy. All right, so here are the methods that's controlling our menu behavior, and you can use the same kind of code and pause the video essentially and copy the code down. In fact, I have this I have another recording of this where I probably explained pack, and I can't remember right now. My previous recording of this that is uploaded already in the assignments section, so you can refer to that and allow you to pause and copy the code down if you want. But hopefully you'll write it yourself. So now we have the class of open action. These are separate classes, but they're inner classes of the main class, which is why I put them in the same file, because we're using components that are in the main class. The main class has the J menu. So kind of nested this for simplicity's sake, and we'll see the inner class is nested. So these are objects that are inside of an object, which is going to be the menu functionality. Open action extends the abstract action, which is abstract action is our event handling behavior. That's part of swing. That says if you click events, keyboard events, movement. In our constructor, we're saying call super, which is the abstract action, set the menu title, because super says when you create the menu, when you dynamically pull down that little screen, call it open. So open is actually what appears on the menu item. And then I put the value in there as O. You know, so that's why we got that O underline. You can leave this out, actually. You don't have to put the mnemonics in there for that control. And so we actually have the constructor, and then we actually have the action performed that, is the inherited class that we must implement from this abstract action, which is an abstract class that has a method in there called action performed. If you leave that out, you're going to get an error message because it's an abstract class you're implementing. Same thing with the person in those two-string concepts that we talked about. So what do we get? Action perform, get the event. This is given for us. We just send, and if you go and look at the exception handling, we get the same thing with exceptions, IO exceptions. If we say try catch, give me the, it's automatically in the environment. It's managed by Java. So Java manages exceptions, exception handling. It also does event-driven behavior for us automatically. So in C++, we actually have to create an event handler and say, this is our event handler, and put the event handler on this button, or put it on this thing. Or it's more tedious, actually. This is a lot more streamlined in terms of what you're looking at. What is the event handler going to do? Well, it's going to open up a little dialog, and it's going to actually it's going to basically run the file chooser object, and we're going to go run the method to show the open dialog. So when we say open, it's going to go out and retrieve. And if you're familiar with file I/O in C++, we open a file. We have what's usually some people call it a file handler, and it's a pointer to the file. It's for buffered I/O. That's part of the file open, file close. Same concept, actually, for the Java people who don't know C++. You guys know C++ at least? For the people who don't know Java? I'm asking you. Oh, you do? Okay, good. So you know file handler, file pointer?
A long time back I used it, but yeah, I remember file handling. You have something they call it generally FP or something like that.
Yeah, it's like it's a standard. It creates buffered I/O is what it does. It's actually you had to create a pointer. It was a file pointer, and you pointed it to a file open, and it took the contents of the file and loaded it up into a memory space. You had an integer value. That's what this is, retrieve value. But we don't have pointers. We don't have to create a pointer out of it. Instead, this is going to automatically do the same thing for us, where we have a pointer to the open file in memory. So what appears on that screen is the contents that's taken from this memory address from file chooser that took and opened it up through the show open dialog, selected the file, opened the file, put it on a memory address, gave us a pointer value or gave us an integer value to reference it. We go through, in C++ we use the reference of that file as the pointer. Because what you don't want to do is open up a file, read the contents. Every time you want to traverse the file, you have to open up the file again, open up the file. It's buffered I/O, essentially. If you go through the I/O lecture, it's not going to tell you anything about this. So that's why there's no use going through the lecture on this. It's going to, go and look at file chooser. It's not going to explain that to you either. It's just going to tell you the routine for doing it. We're going to use a try and a catch with some exception, some I/O exception, which kind of demonstrates I/O, which is the other theme of that other lecture in terms of I/O handling, I/O exceptions. Because, it's like pretty standard in almost any programming language to use some sort of an exception handling. Because if the file doesn't open, the program's not going to work correctly. Or if it doesn't save, if it's not open, it's never going to save. Nothing's going to work. So I'm trying to get rid of all those pop-ups. So it's a good idea to do a try and a catch on it. So anyway, here we're opening up the dialog, and we're saying this instance of JavaPad. We're going to put the value as an integer pointer to that file. And then if it's a prove option, which means it worked, then we're going to take and we're going to say the file f and point it to file chooser.get selected file. This is the same behavior, and the assignment will say, you know, make sure when you double click on it, it opens. Or it's all part. You don't have to do anything for it. It's all part of the basic functionality of File Chooser. When you double click, it'll select it. When you go File Open, it'll select it. Anything you do is built into the API, so you don't have to worry about any of that. This is your exception handling 101, where you're doing a try and a catch, same thing as in C++ if you're familiar with that. So you're opening up a file reader, because once you've got the file and you're going to open up the file, then you have to read the contents of the file. You put it into a file reader. It's buffered I/O. So we got file reader is equal to new file. Open the file at the F, which is the location where the file chooser has selected the file. The edit area, you read the reader with a space, so you use the text component to unhouse. So you're taking edit area dot read, so it's being read into the edit area. And then the exception handler, you're catching an I/O exception. You're going to print out the, you know, it says, oh, file can't be read, file's corrupted, or file's not text, or I don't know what kind of error message it's going to give you. And the action performed and the constructor is pretty much all the two methods you're going to have in all of these options, because that's really all you can do is build it and wait for an action and process the action, essentially. So that was the open. In the save, we got the same thing. It might look the same. Actually, it is the same, except for now it says save instead of open. There's our constructor, and then our action performed is the same thing, except for file reader. Now we're doing file writer, because we're saving it now. We still got to get the file. We still got to do our error checking. It's the same code over and over again. The only thing that's a little different is the exit. The exit. It's even easier, system.exit. So, in fact, this is actually a better way of kind of viewing what you're doing with these particular classes. This is, you know, you've got the constructor and you got the action performed. If you leave out the action performed, you'll end up with an error message, because this is an abstract class, and the abstract class is abstract action that you're inheriting from. And it's expecting you to do something on the action performed. So you have to have an action performed method. And once you've built one menu item, you've built them all. Once you've created one frame, you've created. And now the other trick is, you know, creating labels and buttons, and you do it the same way as you did the text area. You take all the labels and buttons and you add it to the frame, or you add it to the components. You put it into a layout and you put it on the frame. If you go into a textbook, you'll see normally they give you a hierarchy. They show you, big picture, and then inside is another picture, and then inside you got smaller components. Because the interface, everything is nested. I mean, that's the only point. And the outer one is the frame. The inner piece is the component, like the label, the button, stuff like that. And you just nest it all together. And believe it or not, that gives you everything. Actually, that gives you the entire program here. I'm just going to make sure I haven't. Before I asked to save it, I was going to say, and then here is your option. It is an application, not an applet. So it'll bring up the screen. In fact, here, it's different because it's a Mac versus a Windows system. But there's our separator line. I forgot to point out originally. So you could stick buttons in the. In fact, I've seen this before. People block off certain areas of the window. Move this text. This is the text box here, the text area. Move it down, put buttons on the top. You can have a button bar. In fact, there's a button bar option. You can add buttons to the button bar. And it's kind of like the resource editor in C++, in Microsoft Visual Studio. Familiar with the resource editor. But you don't have to create a resource. It's all embedded into one. And there's third-party toolkits out there that have you run through a bunch of different things. But personally, I think it's just as easy to do it this way. Really? That is actually the entire assignment. Except for the style menu. You have to do your own style menu. And I only did through the 4th. The 5th assignment is an applet that, there it is. We are actually getting done in record time today. The 5th assignment is a ping pong game. And for the people that have done it already, they've said it was hard. That's the user feedback I've gotten so far. I personally didn't think it was that hard. So I'm thinking maybe I should show you the bulk of what people are thinking is hard. And I think what they're thinking is hard is the transformation of the applet to the application. And the reason why this is in here is because I needed to show you something about applets. But we're really extending applet. We're building, instead of from object, we're going from applet. It's just the same as an application. You can take an application, turn it into an applet. Take an applet, turn it into an application. As we've seen in the last assignment, we have full GUI capabilities whether we're in an applet or not. So the trick to this one is you're given an applet. It's a ping pong game, and it actually works. The first part of it is making sure that the applet works, which means you got to, download the file, compile the file, load it up in a web page. And actually, I gave you the web page, so you don't even know. You don't even have to figure out the code to run the applet. Look at it through the applet viewer, or double-click on it on your local system. You don't have to worry about uploading it to a network drive or anything. It will run from your computer without any website or anything. And if you're not familiar with applets, go online, take a look. I'm sure everyone in here has run into an applet from one point or another. It's not JavaScript. It's Java code, which means it's full Java. It's object-oriented programming in Java. And the basic port, you want to start out, make sure you've got a current working applet. Then take it, and then the more complicated coding, this is where I think people are probably having problems, is adding functionality to it. So after you've ported it, and I guess for 5 points it's really time consuming, and maybe that was the point. So what I'm going to do is port it for you. And I'll port it for you, no promises about when, and put placeholders in the code. And I'll do a YouTube video and I'll post it up there. Save this one for last. If I don't get around to it, then I'll take out some of the requirements and make it simpler for you. I'll modify the assignment so you don't have to do all this work. Because after reviewing everything, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I gave you a lot of work, which is why I decided I was going to start giving you pieces of the puzzle so you don't have to solve it all on your own. You can actually work with something. And on this one, if I don't give you the piece, I'll make it easier for you. So wait on the 5th one, I guess, until the last couple weeks.
Do we need to use threads in there?
I'm sorry?
We need to use threads. We need to use threads in this project. The second
Yeah.
one. The above second.
Where do we see? Up here?
Second option. B.
B.
Yeah. To use threads.
You need to use threads in this project, yeah. It's easy, actually. Well, that's actually what I was going to try and show you. I'll put the threads in there for you, and I'll put the application that's ported into it. Because the thing is in an applet, you have to simulate the sending and the receiving of the information. It's almost too complicated for 5 points. So either I'll make it optional. I don't know. I'm thinking about making it optional. I forgot about the thread part of it. Stay tuned for more information about number 5. Don't run out and do it unless you're overambitious. Wait. I might actually make it optional. Optional? We can decide as a group. So we make number 5 optional. Extra credit? How about extra credit? And then I don't have to run a video on it.
You can do a video.
I'll still do the video. You're right, actually, because I have some people who have been spending a lot of time on it who would appreciate the video. So I'll still do the video. I'm making an executive decision. Number 5, so I remember, is optional. Assignment number 5. So you only have 4 worth. Actually, say it's worth extra credit. Number 5 can be turned in for extra credit, an additional 5 points. So if you do 4 of them, you'll get your 25 points, which means you're going to get 5 points automatically, because each one of them is only worth 5 points. If you do number 5, you're going to get 30 points instead of 25 points.
You can get A+.
And then you can get an A+. I mean, you can't get an A+ in the course. But if you miss 5 points on the final exam, there's your 5 points. You'll still get 100%, because you're going to get 105 points instead of 100 points. The highest grade you can actually receive is an A. You can't get an A+. There's no such thing as an A+. But students still ask for it. 4.0 is 4.0, I'm sorry. We don't have 5.0. We don't have anything above 4. The way that the grade, unless they change the grading system on the transcripts, there's no way of showing an A+ different from an A in terms of the grade point calculation. So, anyway, All right, so I have to remember that. I'll make a note to myself before I leave to post it up somewhere so that the weekday students, see, the weekend students made a decision for the weekday students. And that number 5 is optional, so you only have to do 4 assignments. So actually I gave you everything you need to know for the assignments then. Unless you want to do number 5, which is extra credit. So. And number 5 I will still, and I'll post it out there. I'll port it for you and do the thread implementation. So you'll have the threads, and you'll have the ported app. And then you can play around with the, you're currently something. You can play around with the counting features and all of the other additions. The additions are a lot more complicated than they should be for 5 points on the assignment. So it's a tough one. So this guy who left already, he already has 5 points because he's already done it. So he already gets the 5 points extra credit. So. All right, any questions about anything? Seriously, midterm, CSLO, assignments. Huh? Which question do you have about the midterm? Did you miss the beginning? I went over the midterm. Check the video out. It's online. I won't bore these guys with it. They already heard it. Unless you guys want to hear it again. No, I don't think they do. So, check out. It's the first video. There'll be 3 of them posted for this weekend session. I also went over the midterm in the weekday class, so you can. It's the same information. Actually, I think I gave you guys more detail, so you can cross-check both to see if you got everything. The midterm is due in a month from now. It's due the weekend you come back to take the final exam. And a little note on the final exam as well, if you're worried about not making it, we have options. We can make it work. As an example, I have a software engineering course that's meeting the week or so after. It's meeting on April 30th. And this is a week after? No. 7, 14, I have to do my math here. Let's take a look at the calendar. Hello, there we go. That's March. We're looking at April, right? It's because it's locked. No, it's not locked. Oh, here we go. Technology. You guys are taking it this weekend? So 2 weeks later, on the 30th and the 1st, my software engineering class is having their final exam. Which means if you don't want to attend it this weekend, you can attend it this weekend. Because I know some of you who are traveling will need to get airline tickets, depending upon the availability of price and stuff like that. Whatever one gives you the cheaper ticket, I need to know though, so I make sure. I mean, I probably will just go ahead and have exams ready for everything. But just in case, it's probably not a bad idea to give me a heads up and say, hey, I'm going to take the Java one on the 30th or on the 1st. That way I kind of know and I can tell people, hey, watch out, there's like 2 people taking it today. I can, have them printed out and ready for you to go. So there's some flexibility. Also, if you're a local student, if you don't want to take it on the 16th, you want to take it with the day, like you back there probably, you could take it on the same day as the weekday classes are taking there, which is a month later. They're taking theirs at the end. They're taking theirs around April 30th. They're taking the Java object-oriented final exam during this week of April 30th. So if you want to wait, you're local to the campus, you want to come and take it. The Java class is on Mondays. In fact, I have a class on Wednesday. So I'm here most of the day on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you're only available between, because you said you're only available after 4 or something, just tell me when you're going to take it. And that way, I'm probably going to be here anyway that week. If it's on a Monday or a Wednesday between 10 or 11 in the morning till about 7 at night, you can probably schedule it in there. The only requirement is that you come to take it. It doesn't have to come on a weekend. You can come during the week. So, or you can put it, wow, that's embarrassing.
Are you sure?
So, anyway, questions about the schedule? Seeing how this is, the weird thing about this weekend class, this is the only time I see you. It's like 1 or 2 times during the entire term. Y'all know we don't have class tomorrow, correct? Okay, good. But if you do have questions, you can always send me an email message. We have, I think we've covered everything unless I've forgotten something. Do we have any questions? No? then I just made your life easier by getting rid of that 5th assignment. Now I'm kind of having teacher's remorse. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of it, but nah. No, I might change it. I can't change my mind now. It's already set in stone. So that's extra credit. So 4 instead of 5 assignments. All right, we're done then.
So should we email you for the exam dates? Or like,
The TAs, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked, because I forgot to say. The TAs will be sending out the schedule. We're going to run on both dates, the 16th and the 17th, or the 30th and the 1st. But you don't have to show up for both days. We're going to hopefully tell you soon, because it is a month away and people do have to get tickets and stuff.
Probably.
So, like maybe next week?
By Tuesday?
By Tuesday. Oh, that's even better. By Tuesday, they'll be sending an email message out. What you're going to do is divide the list out, put them into time slots. I'd make the time slots about 3 hours, maybe. And maybe 30. How many students do you think? You guys can make the executive decisions here. 30 or 35? 40? 50? 60? 70?
It depends upon the
Oh,
class what we have over there.
That's an interesting question. We may not have it out by Tuesday because we have to assess the capacity of the rooms.
Yeah.
Because we will be taking it in the new building. This we have unlimited capacity.
We were taking
Yeah, the new building in San Jose. Maybe before you came in, we talked about that. The new building in San Jose. It's you could go on the website. Actually, the website has the address. I've actually been in the new building. It's quite nice. The administrative people are moving right now. The classes, the day classes, or the weekday classes don't move until, oops, I know. They don't move until the end of the month because we have our WASC visit 2 weeks after that, middle of April. Actually, we'll have our WASC visit right when we'll be doing our final exams. Maybe we should have the WASC people come in and take a look at you guys taking your final exams. You know what? Now, kind of a brainstorming idea. That's not a bad idea, seriously. In fact, I'll have to talk to the management here. We'll have like 200 or 300 students taking that exam.
Yeah.
There's like really nice something for them to observe, I think, actually. For our accreditation. And it'll be that weekend. I don't know what day are they here? Friday, the 15th maybe. I think the WASC people are here on the 15th, and then we have. Will they be staying just one day probably?
Maybe probably 2 days. Last time they
The
were
16th.
here for probably they
Saturday?
were here for 2 days, right? Like Thursday and Friday.
Hopefully they're not going to show up Thursday and Friday, and they'll be gone by the time we bring in the groups.
Yeah.
That's always amazing. In fact, in the past, it was kind of funny. In the past, it was like ITU reunion day. People were having games and things in the parking lot and exchanging emails. It was like nobody saw each other unless they came for the final exam. And we had like 200, 300 people here taking the exam all in like one day, so they were like spread out. And it turned into like social hour. I mean, or social day. People were like, getting together, ordering pizza. It was like a party going on here. So, I don't know if we'll get that same kind of feeling, but because in the old days, nobody ever showed up for class, so nobody ever knew who was in the class. You show, oh, you were in this class? You in that class? Wow. That's why it was like the final exam. They all showed up for that, but or for the midterm. But it's like find out who's in your class. And this is why I brought it up. The address, all the information is on the ITU website. The official moving day, I believe, is the end of the month. So
28th.
It's on itu.edu.
Yes, you have to click on that.
Oh, which one? Number 2?
No,
3?
This one.
Oh, this one?
No. Yeah, this one.
Hello, San Jose.
Then
There we go, new campus. Actually, that's a good picture of it.
And you have the address right
Here's
there.
the address right here, 355 West San Fernando Street. Little directions. Oh, this is nice. Little Yahoo direction, Google Maps,
Yes.
integrated. Someone's been doing their homework. And when is the official moving date for classes?
By 28th.
By the 28th of March, which is like the 18th, isn't it? Or 19th. We're talking about next week then. We have 1 week left then.
Yeah.
So for you your weekday students, we have a week left here, and that's it. I'm sure we'll have some interesting class meetings with trying to figure out, projectors and
Because everything,
audio and
what
stuff.
they have over there
Yeah?
is brand new.
Yeah.
We have mounted projectors. And
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, professional.
professional.
What are you going to do with these old ones?
Interactive projectors. You can directly operate them on the screen.
Really? You can write and see it on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, because
You
no
can save the
blackboards,
pages and
no
all.
boards or any, or do we have
Only
boards?
there's going to be a whiteboard, no markers and nothing.
Oh.
You directly interact with them.
So I'm sure we'll have a little transition, getting used to the new technology.
Money on that.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
I just realized that building doesn't have a window.
It does. Actually, it's interesting to look at. It used to be an old gym, I think.
Yeah, it was a 101 fitness center.
101 Fitness Center? Yeah. If you go inside the front area, this is all windows. And I think there's some windows. No, you're right. There are no windows in that building. But the thing is, you see in the classrooms, you see windows in the classroom that go out into the hallways and stuff, but you don't see the outside.
No,
Do
we
you?
have a view of a flyover which is right beside the building.
Are there
The
windows in the?
Or in the second block actually.
Are there windows in this building?
No, there's actually your block behind that. This is the front view.
Oh, I see. On the side over here, there's windows. Is what you're saying.
No, on the back side of it.
On the back side of the building, we have windows.
That's the front side.
This is the front side. Yeah. Actually, right over here is where the train station is, right?
Yeah. And we can see the train station from our classes.
We should post like how people can get from Sunnyvale to San Jose
So probably
using the county
there are
transit.
many ways to
Get
commute.
down at the HV Pavilion and then.
Yeah. Because a lot of students actually, they got apartments here because this is where we're
Yeah.
located. So they'll have to re-transplant. But I don't know if they're going to move this term. Probably in the fall.
Maybe.
If they're still here. Yeah, nice. Actually, is there a bike rack up here?
I don't think so.
No?
Maybe like we it's a paid parking, I guess.
Paid? Oh, it's paid parking?
Oh.
Two sides.
So we need a bike rack then for people to ride their bicycles in or something.
So, yeah, and the management is
Is
speaking
it
with.
expensive?
No, the
No,
management
actually,
is
we
speaking
should have a
so
certain number of spaces that are
Yeah,
free.
You can't charge the students for coming
No, you
to
can't
school,
charge
right?
for it,
No,
yeah.
Student parking is again separated. That's not a. We have a lot of space behind the college.
Oh, there's parking spaces for you, not to scare you. You don't have to pay for parking.
Probably.
There's an Oracle building, I think, across the street. Is it Oracle or Adobe? Adobe's across the street, and those guys use a lot next door to this place. I know that, and that's paid parking. That's like $10 a day or something. It's pretty expensive. You don't want to do that. But I'm sure that they'll have some arrangement for parking. Maybe there's street parking. I don't know. It'll be a transition. It'll be interesting.
Probably Raman told saying that like he's gonna speak with those people
Oh, for the garage next door to
for
get
the
some
garage and
access.
get a discount.
discount. Oh, discounts would be good. Even a couple bucks is reasonable.
Yeah.
But I don't know about $10 or.
$10 is too much.
Parking downtown San Jose can be kind of not as bad as San Francisco, but it's going to be kind of pricey. San Francisco's like $20 for like 5 hours.
That's like the minimum.
That's the minimum, yeah. You can go up to like $40, depending upon where you're parking.
It's cheaper to get a ticket, parking ticket.
It's cheaper to get a parking ticket.
Yeah,
You're right.
people do that just, and next person who checks parking permits just see there is a ticket already. So
No,
they just
you know what though? I can tell you from firsthand experience, your car will be towed.
Oh,
I left for about a little under 3 hours, and I got 4 tickets, and on the 4th ticket they towed
well,
me.
maybe right. Is it your
within
recent
3 hours. This was next to the downtown area,
How
next to the court offices or whatever,
Or civic center.
in the civic center area.
When was it?
About a month ago.
Yeah, right now they're kind of
Well, it's
getting
just,
more strict and giving.
Yeah.
It used to be like 2-3 years ago.
No, then it
People
was
just-
cheaper to pay the parking tickets than it was to pay the parking fee. Now they're towing people, huh? 200? Oh, they what?
Wait,
They waived the ticket.
Yeah.
How'd you do
what
that?
did you say?
What did you say?
It was my first time, and I went directly to the office
Yeah.
to pay the parking ticket, and they told, okay, you have come long distance from there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Is it possible?
I don't know. Maybe that was a couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago. Now they're really cracking down on it.
No, I mean usually minimum charge is one violation, like $25
Yeah,
or $30.
yeah.
They can reduce it, but it's the minimum.
It cost me over $300 to get my
But
car
when it
out of the
comes to
tow
street
yard.
cleaning,
Huh?
at that time, if they're going to tow your vehicle, they're going to charge you $580.
$500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't risk.
Not good. Not good to risk that stuff.